So when I run this code, I'm getting the output true. That is, Caesars is present in WebEdit. And let's make some change on this text. Suppose I put some text in between, and let's see whether QTP identifies the difference. Okay, as you can see, false is displayed, so our code is working fine. Now we have to make a small modification in this code. We have fulfilled the requirement, that is, we are using a function which throws back true or false if the item value is matching or not. Now as you can see, this item is hard coded. What we can do is we can take this value from the parameter of the function. So let's say S and give some name to it, S item. Okay, so this is passed as a parameter to the function, and if S name equal to S item, then now the value of S item is passed from the calling function from where it is called. And what we can do is, instead of hard coding, let's say we take it from the user himself. Okay, so S item equal to, as you know, what we did last time, we used input box to take input from user. So you can simply write enter the item you want to match. Okay, so what are the different items? Let's say we enter paper this time, which is present in the drop down. So when I run this, it will take the input from the user and it will put in S item. So I run this, and let's say we put paper, and it is true. Okay, so this was a very simple code which explains how you use VBScript for working on the application. Now we move on to the next question of our assignment. Now it says write a script, read 5 items from external sheet. Okay, check their presence in the web list by selecting one by one and send a pass status to the QTP test result. Or else, if the item is not found, send a fail status to the result. Write status pass fail back to the test data sheet. Okay, and take the test data from the data table. And reference is again registration form.html. So let us first, before starting with programming, we should have a basic idea how the approach would be. Okay, so let us discuss about the approach. So I'll start with a new test, since it is written that I will get the values from the data table. So I will create an external sheet which will import the data into the data table, and from data table I'll use these values, as it was said that there are 5 values. Okay, so I'll use these 5 values one by one to match the data in the, it was said web list, right? So to match the data in the web list. Okay, so as you can see, even this is a web list, and we can use this web list, and we have 5 data in our data table, and each of them will match with all of this data. And if it is existing, we have a separate column which throws back the status. So it will be passed if it is existing and fail if it is not existing. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create an Excel sheet which will have this data. Okay, and the assignment, as it says, that let's say give some name to this column, let's say education, and then status. And we put, as I've said, we have to use 5 data, so let's use 5 data. Okay, now the data will be such that some of them will be matching and some of them will be not. Let's say MBA and maybe BCom we can match, and we'll use some random degree apart from MBA and BCom. Okay, so let's say XYZ, which won't match. Then we have MBA, then we have let's say ABC, then we have BCom. Okay, and then we have something IMN. Okay, anything. Okay, so these two will are supposed to match, and this status has to be put over here. And let's say we can save it in a local drive, and I have my scripts over here, and let's say I'll name it as data. Okay, One thing you won't find it in books is you cannot use XLSX file to import it to your data table. You have to save it in the format of XLS, that is workbook 2003. So if you see over here Excel 97 2003 workbook.xls, so you have to save it in this format. So once you have done with the sheet, you just have to remember the path. I've saved it in my D drive, data.xls. Okay, now what I'll do is, first of all, as we have to deal with the data table, let us import the data sheet into our data table. So first of all, we'll add a new sheet, data table dot add sheet. So let's add a new sheet. Let us name it as same as the sheet in my Excel, sheet 1. Okay, and the next thing is, once this sheet will be created on runtime, now you won't be able to see it. Once it is created, let us import the Excel sheet into a sheet 1 of the data table using data table dot import sheet. We just want this sheet, not the entire workbook, and we have to give the file name. Okay, this will be the path where our file is saved. Okay, and comma, you have to give the sheet name or the index. So my sheet name is sheet 1, and from sheet 1 I'm importing into the sheet 1 of my data table, which I had already created now. So once the data is imported, so you should know the columns. The first column was the education column, second was the status. So once I have imported the data into my data table, the first thing I'll do is I'll take the count of the data in my data table. Okay, so data table dot get sheet, a row count of the sheet, because the row count is sheet specific. The data can vary in different sheets. So for sheet 1 we want to find the row count. So it will be dot get get row count, and let's say rc equal to row count. I save it in my variable. And the next thing is to fetch the values. As you know, again we have to use a loop.